Today we'll be building this double-headed eagle terrain piece for Warhammer 40k. How are you today? Art Jeremiah here, and I'm back with another terrain building video. Today we're going to be taking a break from the dungeon build that I've been doing and working on this 40k terrain piece. I promised this to a guy on Instagram a while back, and I thought I'd be able to make it and have it produced in a couple weeks, and it ended up being a couple months. If you are new here, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for regular inspiration. And now we'll get right into that video. The very first thing I did was find an Aquila on Google Images and print it out. If you do not know what an Aquila is, it is Latin for eagle, but we are specifically talking about the Warhammer double-headed eagle. Here's a little backstory to give us some inspiration. The Warhammer 40k lexiconum states that the Aquila represented the union between Terra and Mars, following the Treaty of Mars, replacing the Emperor's earlier symbol of a thunderbolt known as the Raptor Imperialis. During the times before the Horus Heresy, the two-headed eagle was blindfolded on one side and the other had eyes. As you can see, I'm tracing the eagle onto this awesome Stencil Blank with a Sharpie. This sheet of plastic is specifically used for making stencils and is very affordable. I will provide an Amazon link in the description if you are interested. You can skip over this part if you want to freehand the eagle, but I wanted to show you for educational purposes. Also, if you do not want to buy something, you can just use whatever spare pieces of plastic you have sitting around, or even make a stencil out of thick cardstock if you happen to have that. I then lay down a cheap glass cutting board and carefully cut out the eagle. Pay attention to how I did the eye of the eagle's left head. Making a stencil like this will take time, but it will save a lot of time later if you want to make more terrain that has this design. It felt great when I was finally finished getting it cut out. I am able to quickly trace the eagle onto styrofoam with a Sharpie and a homemade stencil. I then rough up the eagle design with a piece of asphalt. You can get a similar texture with a rock, piece of foil, homemade texture rollers, or whatever you choose to use. For this build, I am only worried about texturing the symbol. And now I work my way around the design with a hobby knife. I first slice around the design, then chip out the negative space. This is a bit time consuming, but is actually a very satisfying step. According to my recording, it only took about 20 minutes to go around the eagle. I then take out my cheap paring knife and chisel away the larger spaces. When I do this, I try to go at different angles and break off a variety of sizes. I'm doing less cutting and more gouging and ripping with the knife. I just use the knife because it's a nice sturdy blade and I can control it easy in my hand. I break off a variety of sizes. I then add some more variety by breaking some pieces of foam off with my fingernail. And now, we are going to destroy what we did. Yes, I said destroy, because we want this to look more like a ruin, and less like it was a new sculpture. I just do some shallow and somewhat jagged cuts with my hobby knife, and then I break the foam with my hands. This will make the breaks look more realistic, of course, because we actually broke them. Next, I use an extended blade to cut the bottoms of some of the pieces at an angle. This will make the terrain look even more uneven and realistic, like some of the pieces have sunken into the ground a little. I am basing this build with foam core. Foam core is an excellent option for basing. It's easy to cut and will be sturdy enough for gaming. For me, that is more the case with the higher quality black foam core. I just like the end result of my terrain having that black bottom side that gives it a finished look. A lot of people worry about foam core warping, but I don't really experience that too often. If you are worried about that, then I'd recommend using glue that is not water soluble. For instance, hot glue or liquid nails would work great. Or if you have the cheaper foam core from the dollar store, just peel off the side that you are working with, because it's actually the paper that's making it warp and not the foam, as foam is not water soluble. After I get the shape I want, I hot glue the pieces to the foam core. I make sure to stagger all the pieces slightly to give just a little bit more variety. I then hot glue some various pebbles and stones to the base. I'm very liberal with the hot glue and the pebbles. Next, I add play sand to the terrain with watered down PVA glue, aka white glue, aka Elmer's glue. Anyway, I add this both to the base and to random pieces of the foam. I then slop on a thick black undercoat. The undercoat I'm using is a mixture of black paint, varnish, and PVA glue. You can use black paint and Mod Podge if you like. Either way, it will protect the terrain piece and seal in all the sand. I then use a variety of acrylic craft paint to paint the terrain. The specific paints I used were Anita's Earth Brown and Rainy Day Gray and Apple Barrel's Territorial Beige and Pewter Gray. I do a variety of wet blending at this stage in order to give everything a more natural look. Wet blending is basically just using wet paint on wet paint. I will do a bit of a time lapse here so that you can see exactly what I'm doing. The highlighted comment today is by Campaign Terrain, who said, "Nice build. I much admire your patience. Good stuff. Boobs to Milo." Thanks a lot, Campaign Terrain. Also, he's a creator as well, so you want to go check out his channel after this. I'm sure he would appreciate it. If you happen to be getting some value out of this video, then do me a favor and hit the like button. After the terrain is completely dry, I highlight the entire piece with a dry brush of Apple Barrel Antique White. This piece is already looking amazing, and if you want, you could just leave it at that. But with this build, we are going to do more. I add Woodland Scenic static grass to the base to random rocky areas of the terrain. I do this by brushing on a mix of white PVA glue, water, and matte varnish, then sprinkling on the grass. I then apply some clump foliage by dipping it in the glue mixture and sticking it to the piece. I try to vary the size both for realism and more visual interest. Anyway, what do you think of the end result? Rate this build on a scale of 1 to 10 in the comments below, 10 being the best and 1 being the worst. If you're enjoying this video and getting some inspiration out of this channel, consider joining me on Patreon for as little as $1 a month, and you'll gain access to extra footage of videos like this one and other videos that I've done in the past. We just hit the first milestone on Patreon. Stay tuned for next week and we'll be back into that dungeon build. I already have it built and it's something you won't want to miss. What else? I don't remember. I don't know. I guess that's it.